met her husband. He was a teacher in China, and they had come to the States so that their son could have an American education. And it was just interesting. Her ideas about dance was really different, but she was such a beautiful dancer. And one of the quick stories I will tell about Lily is that the dance that I do is based on, it goes back through my teacher to Martha Graham. And she was a modern at the beginning of the last century. And one of the things about Martha Graham is that she was extremely gutsy. She believed in the grounding of dance. And there was a lot of emotional content in the work that she did. And I'm really into emotional content. And I tried to get Lily, who is a beautiful dancer, but she was always smiling. And I tried to convince her, that this is gutsy work. This is not about being happy all the time. And she was very surprised with that, because she was trained in, wasn't jujitsu, Tai Chi. And she, in fact, was still working with a master in China when she came to the States. But Tai Chi, and she also was doing Chinese dance, and they have to be happy all the time. And it was a real interesting clash of cultures there. But once again, I love them. This is Molly. And this is a painting that actually Andy really likes, the red shirt, I call it. Well, I call it stripes, I guess, but I could have called it the red shirt. And these two overlapping paintings, somebody was looking at them just recently, and I don't know if it was the pictures of them, and noticed the figure in the reflection in the mirror. One of the wonderful things about the studios that we work in are the mirrors. So you saw that in 4 chairs, and here with Molly is that I'm able to play around with the reflections and how the light goes in different directions across the reflections and across the figures. I really like the hard lines of the light, and then how they travel across the figure and become soft and then pick up on the other side. And this is Anna once more, and Trisha. This is back up in Chalice Stream, so you could see the play of the light, the windows across the floors in both of these images. And it was kind of a little corny, and I will admit it, of bringing Anna's hand down over the other painting, other part of the painting. But yeah, I can't tell you how many people have commented that they really like that. So we'll just leave it at that. But they posed for me. Now we're back to my husband's work. Before he talks, I just have to tell you that when we met in graduate school, and there were 2 people who were married at the time who were painting with us, and they painted identical subjects and with identical palettes. Yeah, it was just, and their marriage.
They didn't use the same color.
Yeah, well, anyway, their marriage did not work. It ended. And so here we are, really different, and we're going strong. It's going to be 54 years. So.
Oh, congrats.
Thank you.
These are, real quickly, the center painting is, we went to Civita Castellana in Italy, and there was this wonderful place. You could see this mystical mountain called Mount Sorate, but apparently the Etruscans had been in a war with a civilization called the Phoenicians. They're all eventually wiped out by the Romans. But while we were painting there, there was a lot of thunder, and the planes were taking off from Leonardo da Vinci Airport. This was 90 miles north of Rome. So I imagined, I guess, this battle between Etruscans and Phoenicians, and did it in a kind of, if you can't see it too well, there's some realistic elements and some caricature-like elements. The other paintings, there's a painting that's based on, the Riverboat Gang is based on a photograph my father took when he was on a pioneering sociological study in the 1920s in Louisville, Kentucky. And the picture on the upper right is a group of young boys who are chasing a dime that was thrown off a riverboat. Then they have a good time trying to make a joyful picture, or at least a pleasant picture for the plague that's going on. And they go buy some candy with the money, and then they go listen to some music. And so it's supposed to try to be a happy story, but it's based on a photograph my father took in 1920. He did with his professor, one of the first sociological studies area. This would be right between Ohio and Kentucky.
I'm going to pause you really quick, Andrew. Someone in the chat asked if you could sit a little closer to the microphone.
I'm gonna let you sit up
I
there.
can hear you well, but some others might not be able to.
Okay.
You'll get the chair of honor.
Oh, thank you. This is, I've done about 10 versions of this because I grew up largely in the Washington, D.C. area. And it's, can you hear me? It's a depiction of an attempted assassination of Harry Truman. In 1950, two Puerto Rican guys came to D.C. because they misunderstood Truman's position on Puerto Rican independence. So I just kind of imagined the whole thing. And then I was lucky enough to find some books and a few old photographs, which I didn't use, but they come into Union Station and they check into a railroad hotel, and then they go down to try to shoot Harry Truman, who was staying in the Blair House at the time. He was hiding under the bed, actually, when this was going on. Then one man was shot and killed, and one of the policemen was killed. But then this looks a lot like a current day. Anyway, he was carted off to safety, and everything went back to normal, which I guess is what happens. But this is one of the looser versions. And we just talked about that's Mount Sorate again, Philasians, and this, there's an artist that I've always been kind of crazy about named Arshil Gorky. That wasn't his real name. It's a fake name. He took it from the writer, the Russian writer, but he one of the most brilliant painters in American and Armenian history. I found out about the Armenian, I hate to say this, the Armenian Holocaust, which is still being discussed, but by actually the President of the United States 2 weeks ago discussed it, this took place well over 100 years ago. And I just tried to depict the childhood of Arshil Gorky when he escaped the Holocaust and went to Istanbul, and eventually he came to the United States and became a great artist. But his work is very hard to understand, as you can see. Very beautiful in color, and one of the most amazing painters ever born, as far as I'm concerned.
Well, I could talk loud. I can yell. Okay, so the one on the far left is from that inlet group, the dance company, and they did a lot of group work, and so there are actually 4 images there. Somebody once came in when I was putting images together in rectangular shapes and wanted to know if I had stolen my husband's ideas, because it was kind of new to me to be doing that. And I suspect he influenced me, but.
I invented the whole thing. Actually, it's the most ancient form of human communication. I found that goes back thousands and thousands of years. So it's not real contemporary.
In these paintings, I kind of, I don't have the light source. This was in a room, again, up at McPhee, and it's a basement room. And there wasn't a light source, but I was able to get the same play of dark and light shapes and changes in value. As you can see, I'm not that much of a colorist, but you would be surprised at how many colors go into making these darks and lights. So I do have a full palette full of color, and it comes out this way every time. So that's who I am.
I'm going to say you guys have about 5 more minutes so we can get to my chow and then some discussion at the end. So I'm just going to kind of scroll through your next, we have a couple more pictures on the last wall, but feel free to just talk in general about any of them as I scroll past.
Okay.
But I just want to make sure my chow has enough time to.
No problem.
So, but I'll just.
Yeah, this is what you just saw.
Mhm.
This is, once again, you could see the same ideas that I've been working on in all the other paintings. This is a newer painting. It turned out pretty powerful.
One of my favorites.
This is Anna again.
Mhm.
The big painting in the center there is my teacher. And what I did is I turned him inside out. He's coming down as well as going up. And he was posing for me in these different positions. I asked him to do that.
Yeah, the two paintings are from another experience I had when I was a kid. So, I used to sail boats in the Luxembourg Gardens, and a boy, who else, broke one of the boats on purpose, and he got in deep trouble. Anyway, in my story, it goes on and on. He throws the boat in the river, and it disintegrates, and it comes back at another time. And there's one you can't see, but that's one of my heroes named William Hogarth, who invented I don't know how to pronounce this word, genre that I work in, which is, stories that you can actually read. And this is based on a landscape in Durand, Wisconsin, also influenced by the English painter Constable. And it's actually got a man on a motorcycle in it. And so it's a sort of a fantasy. I love working outside, and I like working from the figure. I like doing the stuff I did when I was a student. And I continue. Last night I drew from the model, and the week before I painted outside from landscape. I do it quite, I'm an art nut. Always out there.
Always fun.
Okay, well, this is a close-up of the broken boat, the kid that broke the boat.
He doesn't mention that it's saved by a bunch of chipmunks.
Oh, in my story, the chipmunks save it and bring it back. They get drunk on the way. So it's not, I don't know, a good children's book.
That's a bigger image of you.
Oh, that's the other, that, if you go back, that's Hogarth, William Hogarth, 18th century artist who invented, well, this is the Rake's Progress. It was a famous opera written by Stravinsky with words by Auden. And then more recently illustrated, at least the props were illustrated by David Hockney. This is my version of the Rake's Progress, guy who had made a pretentious try at life and ended up, as you know, as you would guess, down the tubes. So.
And once again, my favorite model, Anna. And you could see my use of the reflections, which is very strong in this particular painting. And it actually, I like my paintings. So I was going to say this is one of my favorites, but that's ridiculous. So it is.
All right, and this is just another overview of your whole gallery.
Yeah, thank you very much for doing such a beautiful hanging. Thanks to the volunteers.
Yeah, we have a wonderful install team that places all of the paintings.
Very impressive.
They do a wonderful job. All right. So thank you, Barbara and Andy, for your presentation.
Thank you.
And we'll move on to